Going. Thank you guys for joining us on our Shop Talk Live. My name is Rick Ramirez. I'm also known as Ricks2Cents, with my fellow co-host Steve from Steve Makes Everything,
Yep.
Roger from Roger Shop, and a new addition to the team, Andy from AndyBirdBuilds. Nice one. And we actually have
we have our guest.
We have our guest that you showed up on earlier, Carl from the Tinkerverse.
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing good. Andy, I just have to say, man, that I've been a longtime fan, and it's an honor to have you on our channel. It's an honor to add you to the team. This is very cool, actually.
Sweet, yeah.
I don't, as I said in the email to the guys, I don't think you need an introduction, but would you mind, because we all are live on each other's lives, right? On all our different social media platforms. Would you mind giving yourself an introduction, where you're from, maybe how you got into the business, and what exactly do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Andy from AndyBirdBuilds. My YouTube channel is my main, I guess, where you'll find me, where I guess I'm the most active. And I live in Kentucky. So I am in central Kentucky, middle of the country. I am not from here. So if I don't sound like I'm from Kentucky, I'm not originally from here. So I'm originally from Michigan, but I've lived here now for 10 years. Anytime I introduce myself, it's like, where do we start? But anyways, the winding road has led me to, back in 2017, I got into, I guess, traditional woodworking, traditional tools. I bought a table saw, and then that led to engaging my entrepreneurial spirit. I grew up in my dad owns his own small business, and so that was my first job, and I was always exposed to that. So anything I've ever done, I've had like a side hustle or tried to make, money another way. And so woodworking was no different. And then I discovered CNC in 2018 and kind of ran with it, started making money. I was working in my career, quote unquote, my previous career that I actually went to college for and this on the side. And when COVID hit in 2020, I had, again, 3 years, 2020, I started a YouTube channel because I met a local friend who is a prominent YouTuber. I met him coaching his sons and daughters basketball team. Kind of a crazy story. I'm sure it'll come out eventually. But yeah, fast forward, just like anything else, it's been a winding road. I definitely did not set out to do what I'm currently doing. Which is YouTube, and I found my voice in helping people make money with a CNC router. So here I am, and this is my full-time gig. This is what I spend all my time doing. And yeah, I make pretty much weekly YouTube videos for the last 4 years. So I'm up over 300 uploads and still trucking along. So
nice one. So did you start with a CNC? Did you start with a laser, or how did you first start off?
Yeah, I started with a Shapeoko 3 XXL back in, like I said, 2018. And I was just like anybody else getting into the market today. Like at that time, it was Shapeoko, which is made by Carbide 3D, and Inventables, X-Carve. Those were like the two main competitors back then, which is hard to believe. This was 6-7 years ago now. Things have come a long ways in that time frame. So there was no Onefinity. There was no, I'm drawing a blank. The new alt mill just came out. I forgot the name of the company. But anyways, so I picked Shapeoko, and I literally am self-taught. I have no prior experience.
So you went to the YouTube Academy? That's what you're saying?
I went to a YouTube Academy, hardcore, the school of hard knocks of trial and error, and a lot of cuss words and frustration, and even stepping away from a while. I remember my CNC like getting so frustrated with it, it just sat there for like 3 months, and I didn't touch it. Like I was like, so. But yeah, that's where I started, and kind of grew from there. So now I have an Avid CNC, 4x4 Avid CNC, and I still have my Shapeoko. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to in this new space, having, like we were talking pre-show back behind there, having all of them set up. So it's not just my Avid, because people would like me talking about the Shapeoko, and it's more entry level friendly. So yeah.
So they always say a good mentor always has a mentor. So did you have someone mentoring you in the industry, or you were just heavily laying on YouTube to kind of learn?
A little bit of both. Like when the CNC technical stuff, I definitely leaned heavy on the internet. But I've had a lot of mentors over the last 7 years. Everything from YouTube mentors to business mentors. I am a huge believer in paying to acquire what someone else knows.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of mentors along the way. So
nice one.
Does your Avid have a 4th axis?
It does not. Just 3.
You're missing a whole new world.
I'm so you know how like the world of let's just say the world of CNC in general, like, you know, you have routers, lasers, even 3D printer, anything like in that world. Like there is so much, and it's on my list to do, but it's like my mind can't handle that right now. I'll get there eventually, but I'm not going there right now.
Yeah, I have a Onefinity Elite, and I added a 4th axis to it. And here I'll show you what you can build with a 4th axis CNC. I think I've shown this before here, but I'll show it again. Oops. Share screen, share. Oh, where the hell is it?
We need that.
Yeah. Well, here, I'll just do this. Oh, here we go. Okay.
He's just trying to make sure he opens the right tab.
Yeah. I don't want to confuse this with my OnlyFans. So there's all of this was built on a CNC. Actually, even the inlay over on the sides of the board there.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's time consuming, but it isn't actually a lot of work, meaning not a lot of work where you're sitting there having to do something, right? So it's it's just a fun thing to do. I'm going to actually make another one and shoot a few videos on it, just so people can do it. But adding the 4th axis was actually pretty easy because the Elite uses the Masso 3 controller, which has 4 axis.
Yeah, so Andy,
it actually has 5, but you use 2 for the Y. But
I thought you'd be a good asset to the team, because, you know, collectively, a lot of times we don't actually have like an agenda on the live, right? This live is literally live questions and answers. So whether it be 3D printers, whether it be laser engravers, whether it be woodworking, it's kind of just open floor for the people to really just come to us, you know. And sometimes it's like it's easier to show someone than tell someone, or it's easier to actually physically talk to someone versus a long-winded email, because you just can't explain it. So so just a tool in the toolbox, I should say, you know, for that, you know, we can help people. You know, so I think that's great. Carl, do you want to do us a favor? I was
going to say, we do have an agenda tonight,
brother. I didn't mean to put you on the back burner, but we had talked about what we do. We do occasionally, Andy, is we invite people from the audience in to be able to join our live. So Carl was someone that was one of our audience that was actually invited to be able to join our live tonight. So Carl, you want to give yourself an introduction to the YouTubers? You're a YouTuber as well, correct?
Yeah, among other things. So it's funny, as Andy's talking, I'm like, has he been like reading out of my notebook or something? So I mean, I followed a whole lot of his path, but probably about 4 to 5 years ahead of him, as in loco, before the whole Inventables Carbide 3D mix up. You know, back when they really didn't even have, you know, software. There was no easel. There was no easy to use. It was, you know, you had to go learn, you know, Autodesk and a CAM program and all that stuff. So it, you know, it was kind of an interesting journey. But before that, obviously, I was doing a lot of flat stock, and, you know, one of my other ventures, I do a whole lot of lathe work. So I was kind of chuckling with with the 4th axis, because I've been dancing around a CNC lathe for years, and I just can't get myself to pull the trigger, just because I want a Tormach, and just the size, I don't have for it and all that stuff. But one of these days we'll get around to something like that. But it's just, yeah, it's kind of another toy in the shop.
Certainly, if you have a lathe, you're probably much faster to turn chess pieces on a lathe.
Yeah,
but the problem with a lathe is you actually have to be there holding a chisel.
Yeah. Well, the metal lathe is somewhere in between. You're kind of there, and you just flip a lever and let it go.
There is a company making a CNC wood lathe now.
Really?
It's some Kickstarter project right now.
Huh. Curious how they're.
Oh, I should send them a message. That's got to be on my channel.
Carl, so where are you based out of?
So I am currently living in Cape Coral, Florida.
Okay.
So if you were following a couple of years ago, Hurricane Ian, I was ground zero. So, you know, by way of all over the place, originally Chicago, down through Texas, through North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. I've been in Florida for quite some time now. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as the YouTube side of things goes, you know, I was kind of dipping my toe into the laser scene to support one of my other businesses. And I got to working with Ray over at Cohesion 3D, and he turned me on to, you know, to Jason, as they were on like version 0.4 or something like that, a Lightburn. And so I kind of got involved with them and did a lot of volunteer work writing their original, you know, helping one of the 2 or 3 of us that were writing the original documentation back when we were kind of keeping it in GitHub. And, you know, between then and now, I did some videos back then, but then I took a good time off as my kids were going through a kind of a certain age school wise. I just didn't have the time to dedicate to it, and, you know, family and kind of moving a little bit. So it was like I took several years off, and just in the last maybe year or so, I kind of you know, get back into catching up, back up to speed with everything that's changed over the last few years for sure. And, you know, kind of getting back into helping others, as Andy was talking about, you know, working on software tutorials. And, you know, unfortunately, I'm dipping my toe a little bit too far into the review side of things, which is not what I intended to do. But, you know, when somebody keeps offering you a better one and a better one and a better one, it's hard to say no. So that's kind of where I'm at now. So I'm really working to build the channel back up. I'm not as regular post to be. I mean, I've got all this stuff in my head that I want to put into video and do tutorials and samples of. And I just, as time permits, I'll carve a little bit of time out and throw something together and put it up there. And if it helps somebody, great. If not, it satisfied my itch to do something.
Nice.
Post your channel in the comments there, by the way.
Sure.
Yeah. And I'll go ahead and share it. So one thing, it's a common theme that I'm kind of seeing is that COVID drastically affected us at a core, right? And sometimes when things humble you at your knees, you, as a man, you have to stand, right? Are you gonna crawl, or are you gonna stand? And, you know, and sometimes you would have went in a different path, a different direction, right? And all of a sudden you go, and something may have been a hobby, all of a sudden become a full-time gig, or something that you may have just had a passion for, and all of a sudden becomes something. You know, that's definitely a story to share, because there's other people out there who want to do that. And right. And the problem is that, like, they see Andy or they see Carl, they see some of the equipment that you guys have, and they think like, I can't own a $100,000 machine. I can't own a $30,000 machine. They see some of the equipment. What they don't realize is that you didn't start out that way, right? Sorry. So and it was nice to hear the years, kind of like a small little resume to say like, hey, you may see me now, but there was a lot of hard work till I got to this point. I didn't just, you know, there's some people who are they're blessed enough they could just pull out a checkbook and they could be there tomorrow, you know. But it just seems like us, we kind of
that's what I did. COVID didn't bother me. I just got sick of work.
You know, but some of us just had to bust their ass to be able to get to that level, you know. So very cool, very cool. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us today. Hey, if anyone is in the live and you do have questions, especially since we have some CNC specialists in the house, let us know. That's what we're here to do. So we always talk about niches, right? And that let me go ahead and share that. We always talk about niches, and that during the holiday, it's important, or at least we say that it's important to find your niche. You can, because if you're just trying to be just all types of things in general and you don't have a niche, most of the time you go down that rabbit hole and you may not be successful in anything, right? But if you find a niche, that's probably the best thing to do. And then also it's good to have items that are, like Walmart's, Targets, all these things, they all have things that are seasonal for a reason, right? So if holidays come up, to have seasonal items. So is there starting off, maybe someone with zero type of experience with the CNC, is there a particular niche or certain items that you would suggest maybe someone focus on as a building block before they kind of get over their head and attempting something beyond their skill set?
Is that for me or Andy or
Either one of
anybody?
you jump in there.
Anyone.
Well, I mean, the price of entry obviously has come way down over the years, but it's a double-edged sword because it's cheaper to get into the machines. You can get into some of these, these cheap extruded aluminum machines off of Amazon, eBay, or you can get into the X carves and Shapeokos and stuff like that. But it comes with a certain amount of responsibility that I see not only in CNCs but the laser side, where people need to learn some primer before jumping into this stuff. So it's not like a printer where you can just plug and play and click print and go. So it's getting much easier. I'm looking forward to some of the software like Millmage, but Easel on the carbide side has gotten much better. So it's really getting closer for a lot of people to kind of jump in and start their first project with a bare minimum of kind of upfront learning. At least that's how I see it.
Have you had any discussion with Jason about Millmage?
Millmage beta group. So yeah, I've played around with it a little bit. I've got a little, the 500 by 500 X carve sitting on the ground behind me, and it's so far it's slick. I mean, if you're comfortable in Lightburn, you're going to be pretty comfortable in Millmage. They've simplified the workflow greatly. It takes the cam process out of having a dedicated cam and really kind of integrates it into the workflow like Lightburn does for lasers. So pocketing, pecking, ramping and stuff like that is all layers
so
now.
It's more, I would say it's probably more a competitor with Easel than say V-Carve. Certainly not Aspire.
It's different. I mean, that's like comparing, Lightburn to LaserWeb or XCS or something. Like they're different fundamentally. At least that's the way I see it.
To answer Chris's question real quick, he says, "What are new trends selling for laser engraving for fall shows? Halloween."
Oh yeah, Halloween thing.
They're already hitting Christmas, so you got to hit Halloween now. If you don't hit Halloween, forget it.
You got to be building for Halloween already.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a bit of a kick around Thanksgiving, and then Christmas.
Yep.
Halloween is huge. Have you ever anybody use like Google Trends or eRank or anything like that to see when search results are when people are searching? So Halloween starts to increase in July.
Yep.
Like Halloween decor when these are when people are actively searching for Halloween decor or and you could even go down further and find some different search terms, but Halloween decor in general. If you started now, I'm sorry to be the the bearer of bad news, but if you started now, you're going to have some really good ideas really quickly because it's, people buy that stuff a couple months in advance.
Yeah. Now, there's definitely some, what do I say, impulse buys for sure.
Yeah.
But if you want to pump out the volume, you may not be able to keep up production, right? As if you were kind of way ahead. Dealing with the sales is, that's my suggestion.
Yeah, that's if you don't want to go dig through all the analytics, you just want to see what's trendy. Go see what Costco is selling for decorations. They start selling Christmas decorations in July.
Yeah, right. A couple things I've noticed. I did a video on this. Everything blends together. Forgive me, but I was doing some research on specifics for the fall, and ghosts are in. So even if you go, I was in Target last night, and like they have a lot of ghost decor out. So that white, clean look. And then, of course, one project that I'm working on that'll be coming out in a month or so, which is probably too late, from what I just said, but is actually a skeleton. So I think a laser cut. I haven't seen this. Like I haven't seen the kind of our community, the CNC side hustle community, make like a skeleton, like a full blown, make it in parts and fasten it together. I think that would be a really cool, cool project.
You mean like CNC a bunch of bones?
Yeah, basically.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, well, that's going to take a long time. You're going to have to make $1,000 off of that thing.
Well, you don't have to make it all on the first one. Just sell 1,000 of them, and then you'll be all right.
Nice one.
It's like the 3D printing approach. You just print these little parts and glue them together over a whole year, and you have a costume.
Well, yeah. That's why Roger has a farm of 3D.
Yeah, but I don't print anything I have to glue together. Everything is one piece and it goes.
Yeah, he doesn't have 3D printer. He doesn't have a 3D printer. He has printers.
Yeah, we've got 16 of them right now.
Print farms.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we found out early on in the live streams, I can't have these running when we're live streaming.
Too loud.
Yeah.
There's too much background noise.
So we had just gave away a laser 2 weeks ago? A week ago? Yep. And Roger, do you want to kind of share our next upcoming giveaway?
Okay, in a couple of weeks, we're going to give away an Ortur H10. That's a 10-watt laser, the blue diode laser, and it will come completely assembled, and it'll have a baseboard with a layout grid on it and mounting feet. And if you are in the continental United States, there's no shipping charge at all on it. It's completely free. If you are elsewhere and you agree to pay the shipping, if you win, then we can do that.
Yeah, so generally what we do is we have this tool doing StreamYard where they're able to use our hashtag, which is a Shop Talk Live, in the comments, and then it tallies them and it automatically pulls them. So there's no way that we can fake who gets chosen. Well, before that tool came out, we used to just scroll, just scroll up and click it. But the tool
next week I'll have it out here. I will have pictures. I will have some video of it, but it's fully functional. It was a demonstration model. Yep. That I did assembly on and reviews on, and works just fine.
So there you go, guys. 2 weeks the giveaway begins. So remember, in order to be eligible to win our giveaways, you have to subscribe to every one of our channels. You have to like at least one video, share at least one video, and comment at least one video. Just get the head start. Just get it going.
And now you have a new channel to subscribe to too.
Yes. Oh. By the way, Andy, I don't know if you noticed, but I added your channel through the scroller at the bottom.
Yeah, I saw that. Appreciate it.
So yeah. So I don't know about Roger and Steve, but I'm live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, on my personal Facebook as well as my Ricks2Cents Facebook.
I was trying to figure that out. I have this button up here. It says stream this to your audience.
Yeah. If you do, you go live on your YouTube.
Yeah, you can link your YouTube channel, and then a couple days before you can just hit that button and it'll create an entry over in your YouTube stream, your content feed.
Yeah, but if you click that and you click live or whatever, and obviously it looks a little different for you than me because I got the admin, but otherwise what you see on the right is kind of the same.
Okay.
But yeah, if you do that, you'll be live on your YouTube as well. Roger, send me one of your 3D printers.
If I have one that I'm going to send somewhere, it's because it's completely trashed. Because I use them till they're completely worn out, and then I usually give them away.
Oh, it's going to be way too expensive to run a 3D printer in Hawaii anyway.
Oh, yeah.
He gives them away once they're worn out. That's great.
Well, there's like a tech school here where it's for kids that don't do well in regular school. So they find projects like this, and they find something that will interest these kids, and they try to teach them something.
That's awesome.
No, I'm not even going to attempt to say his name, so I don't mean to be disrespectful at all. Looking forward to the Unix XM100 5-axis table release at the end of the year, plus or minus. Does anyone know anything about that?
It sounds cool though. 5-axis.
Build an engine block.
Then you can make a wine glass.
Yeah.
Because you get that 5th axis to come in around the corner and go
Okay,
in the end, right?
so be honest. Was that a selfish plug? Do you work for them? If it is, hey, I'm not hating. I'm just asking. How do you know the inside scoop? That's what it says. That's okay.
Hey, let me
We'll
know.
be making a lot. See, I knew it. I knew you worked for the manufacturer.
Well, feel free to contact one or more of us to do some reviews.
Here, so look, I'm gonna send you my email so that I can share it collectively with the guys, and then we'll gladly do a review for you if you would like.
So, Chad, yes, I just
dropped
last
one.
night at midnight I dropped a sorry, Rick. Last night at midnight I dropped a review for the 48 watt Acmer P3. Clack, and he's probably listening. He's doing one for the dual laser module IR and 10 watt diode, which is also cool. It's got like 4 different laser modules. Certainly feel free to go watch my video, please do. But I would venture to say it's the best diode laser I've tested.
Nice.
Ooh, wow,
The thing is amazing.
that's
So
awesome.
Steve, I was going to ask you how that compares to like I'm just getting started looking at this the We Create.
Yeah.
And I did the Acmer P2, and I really, out of all of the open frame diodes, the P2 was one of my favorites, and that P3 looks really interesting. So I'm kind of curious how you stack that to some of the other class 1s.
So I was using that exact laser, the one you have beside you there, in my shop as a long-term tester, and it's a nice laser. It's geared more for people who are really just getting started. So if I could kind of create the ideal persona for that laser, for the buyer for that laser, it's somebody. Hey, there's Clack. The ideal persona for someone with a We Create is someone with a lot of money who thinks they might want to use a laser. Because, well, it's not that the We Create is that expensive. I mean, it's competitive. It's expensive, of course. They all are. But typically, people will buy their first laser will be like a $200 open frame, and this thing that We Create is so much easier to use, right? And now we've had a couple of email exchanges before we come on here, and it was it's the familiar Lightburn versus in that case we were talking about XCS, but Lightburn versus not Lightburn.
Yeah.
And Lightburn, if you're a very experienced person, Lightburn is an amazing tool. But Lightburn was something clearly built by engineers for engineers, right? It's got incredible power, but most people who are, we'll say, quote unquote, normal people don't understand all of the things that Lightburn is telling you, right? Whereas if you look at something like Make It or XCS, they're really designed for people, as politely and politically correctly as possible, are normal, right? They're not tech nerds. So I like the We Create. I would be like Roger. I'd be happy to get rid of it because it's taking up a ton of space in my shop. Now that one I'm not shipping because it weighs a ton.
Oh yeah, they do. They are heavy.
Yeah. So we got a question here. The Acmer P2 has a gritty X-axis. Any advice?
Bearings.
To help.
Bearings.
It's probably the rollers are flat or something.
Or they get grit in them, or the balls are broken down inside it. You can buy those on Amazon for like super cheap, and a bag full of like 20 of them. And they're all the same. I mean, even all my 3D printers use the same rollers that they use on the lasers.
No, the P2 though is linear rail. It's not rollers. That's I was just looking at mine. It's the linear rails with pillow blocks.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit more. I'm looking at mine, and it's all underneath the gantry, so you'd have to get into there and somehow kind of clean it. But
Yeah, so I had a long talk with Gil from Algo Laser when they came out with the Delta, and I said, like, why didn't you use linear rails? And they basically said, well, they don't last in that environment, right? There's just too much crap floating around, and linear rails are such tight tolerance that they get gummed up. Same thing happens in CNCs, right? Which is why if you look at something like a Genmitsu 4040 or 50 or 6060,
Yeah, my
they
Reno.
have linear rails, but they're completely encased, right?
Yeah, my Reno has them.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
I've
the
got
Algo, the Algo's
my
somewhere in
King-
between. It's rollers, but they've got it kind of closed off in that C channel to kind of keep it a little bit cleaner.
Yeah. Now
So-
in the P3, it's a Core XY architecture, which is very cool. Like it's really smooth and it moves very quickly. And they use just rods and linear bearing and linear bearings rather.
Hey, Andy, I noticed that I've been seeing a lot on your on Facebook actually. Are you offering some type of courses now on CNCs, or do you? I'm allowing. Go ahead and give a selfless plug.
Yeah, sure.
What's the deal with that? And what would be expected from someone that and before you even start the pitch, what made you start that course?
Well, what made me start it? A lot of iterations. So this is like iteration number 3 of a course of taking someone from the very beginning, from acquiring a CNC all the way to making a income. I pretty much stop it at like a side hustle income, but consistent, like, thousands of dollars. If someone makes $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 a year, that's kind of who it's geared for. So iteration number 1 was just a PDF, and I did that in like 2021, and then maybe 2020. Anyways, three years ago or so, and then about a year later, I made my first course, which was called Turn Your CNC Hobby into a Profitable Side Hustle. And then I did that all on my own. Built it, wrote the whole course myself, the course curriculum, and then I had a business coach, a YouTube business coach, and I hired him, and I was paying him a lot of money a month. And he said, "Hey, I know somebody that can help you." And I had sold, to give you an idea, I had sold about 200 copies of that first course. So I have a business, basically a business partner now, who he has nothing to do with CNC. He has nothing to do with side hustle or anything like that. And he basically partners with YouTubers that have a voice in a niche and creates a course with them. So basically we took that first course that I created all myself, wrote a brand new curriculum. It's nine modules long. It's almost 9 hours of content, 60 videos I recorded. I took 4 months to build it.
Wow.
And so the ads, you're seeing the ads.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I want it to be the cornerstone of my business. And that's what I've designed it for. Like, that's what I talk about on YouTube. And a lot of this stuff, I mean, people ask me, like, Andy, how is it different than your YouTube videos? And I'm like, well, the biggest difference is the format, right? Because on YouTube, I can't do 8 hours of, I could do 8 hours of content. So it's a lot slower paced, and more in depth and hands-on tutorials. Like there are 2 projects where from the very beginning, there's a beginner project and an advanced project. It's all about developing a product to sell. So yeah, it's very hands-on, in-depth, very well produced, very well done. And so currently right now, we opened it. So what we did is in April, we did our first launch of this brand new course. It's called the CNC Side Hustle. You can go to the cncside-hustle.com /special right now because it's a special launch period. But anyways, the cncsidehustle.com, it's its own thing. Like it's its own entity, basically. It has its own place, own members area, and everything. But anyways, we launched it in April. We opened it for enrollment for 5 days, and we had 157 students go through the course.
Wow.
And I sat down with them one-on-one. Let me back up one step. We did 5 group. It includes 5 group coaching calls. And they're spaced out every 2 weeks. And I meet with them on a live stream like this. And I talk about a topic that, there's been a lot of questions on and things like that. But then after that, I sat down with 15 of them, all that signed up, one-on-one live stream like this. And I really talked to them about what they got out of the course, what they wanted to see improved. And I was blown away by the feedback. And we have implemented and are continuing to implement feedback and making this thing even better. So we reopened it on Monday, and now it's going to be open perpetually. Like you can buy it whenever. But we have a special launch period going on right now. Shameless plug. Rick gave me the floor. But right now, if you jump in right now, the price is actually going up $400 after the special launch window. And after the launch window, you won't be able to get the lives because it'll just be kind of evergreen and it'll be there on your own. So if anybody's on the fence at all about making money with their CNC router, specifically right now, I get this question a lot. Specifically right now, the projects are CNC router based, but all the sales information, like there's 15 videos on marketing there. All that information is really, you could be selling anything, right? So yeah, that closes Friday. All those perks, and it's been great. It's been I like seriously.
What's the cost?
So $497 is the price.
Okay.
And we offer a payment plan as well. We try to make it accessible to as many people as possible. And then, of course, if anybody jumps in and it's not for them, we offer a 30-day, no questions asked guarantee.
Yeah.
So,
is there any different type of level of CNC they would need? Like, hey, you're honest with someone, like that CNC is just not going to work. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So we've had all ranges in the first 157 students. I would say about 10% of people didn't even have a CNC yet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I actually think that's perfect because I walk through all the considerations, recommendations, what to look for, what not to buy. So you technically don't have to even have a CNC for the course to be beneficial. But yeah, that's I think in a nutshell.
So what they pay for the course, they see all this material. Is there a timeline that they can only log in, or they can always like go back as a refresher? Like, hey, I know this was mentioned, but I don't remember. Can they log in anytime, rewatch it?
Anytime. Yeah. One purchase, it is completely open. If we do any updates, which we have some updates coming, like they have access to those. I say lifetime access. I said that to somebody. He said, all right, I'm going to log in when I'm 99. I was like, okay. But yeah. So again, people that know me, that I've, have, I guess, followed AndyBirdBuilds for the last 3 or 4 years. They know, like I've been told that they can tell that one of the things I'm most passionate about is helping people, that want to make money. If you just want CNC to be a hobby, that's completely fine. But if you want to make money, like I'm all in on it. And I guess there's weird passions in life, but I love when people see success and reach their goals. So I'm extremely passionate about it. And I'm guilty of, I can't do the work for people. Right. But I want to, so I'm all in on this course. It's not a just throw it up and forget it thing. It's really what it's spend a lot of my time doing. So
it's the guy with the laser. He says, everyone in the field knows you, Andy. That smiling face always shows up in our newsfeed.
Hey, that's good. That's a good thing. I appreciate it.
So is the goal of the course ultimately to make to get into volume production or something?
As far as what, like a student going through it?
Well, yeah, like what's the end goal of the course? You get into volume production and you're turning out dozens of wooden ashtrays or something.
Yeah.
So, no, great question. So my approach is one size does not fit all. And it all depends. Like I teach, we need to focus on the goals, right? Like what your goals are. And then I typically, I push people in certain directions based on their goals. Like it doesn't make sense if it's a side hustle. Again, that's what we're talking about. It can turn into something more. But if it's a side hustle and you're just doing it for fun, like it's important to keep it fun, right?
Yeah,
because you already have a day job. And so the last thing I'm going to tell is someone that just wants to, hey, like I just want to make enough money to pay for my family's Christmas, or I just want to make enough money to pay for a vacation. Like I'm not going to be like, hey, you need to go into wholesale and make 1,000 of these units, because they're going to hate that. I mean, maybe they'll like it, but most likely they're going to hate that.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot that you're targeting people with side hustles.
Yeah.
Like for me, I have lots of customers. Well, not lots. I have a handful of really good customers who come to me to get stuff made. I'm like the outsourcer, right? Like they just come, can you make this for me? They go home and finish it or do whatever they do, right? And
yeah.
every once in a while I'll be on Instagram and I'll say, hey, I recognize that thing. I cut that out. I get no credit, of course, but it's very lucrative actually, because I mean, as you know, like if you have an Avid, right, you have a CNC that's worth $5,000-$6,000, people aren't going to buy one of those, right? And a lot of the things I do are too big for a the typical CNC that they would buy some Genmitsu model, right? And so that's how I make most of the money in my shop comes from that kind of business.
Nice.
And rather than lasers. Lasers is really a side passion for me, only because I worked in industrial lasers as a early career.
Nice.
But CNC is where I have the most fun and certainly make the most money.
Yeah. Do you find like this? And I get this. There's no right or wrong answer. Do you find making those one-off projects, or one-off, someone comes to you and wants something made? Do you find that enjoyable, like yourself?
Yeah. Like this chessboard I showed you earlier, right? I mean, it's now granted, making 16 pawns that are all the same is a bit drudgerous, but but it's the one and only of these I'll ever make, and the next one will be a different model or different wood or different something, right? And that's more likely to get me up in the morning than saying, oh, I've got to make 10,000 whatever's coasters. So I have a real pet peeve with coasters, but and I know lots of people who go, no, I make all kinds of money on coasters. Yeah, but it's boring.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's really interesting. So I think about this way too much. It's that crossroads between like, do you need to do something? Like, do you need to make 10,000 coasters to pay your bills? Then if that's the case, then you better make 10,000 coasters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, sure. You ultimately and
need
we talk
and
about
want
the
two
niche,
different
right?
things, right?
You ultimately
need to pay your electric bill. Yeah.
You ultimately make what pays the bills, right? But at the same time, it's just you got to have you sell somebody, and again, I'll beat on coasters, but if you sell somebody 4 coasters, they go, oh, this is nice. They put them on their coffee table, and that's the end of it. But if you say to somebody, for a few grand, I can make you a really nice chess set, they look at that like it's a piece of art, right? And you know, all of a sudden they stop being customers and start being partners, and that's much more interesting to me.
So I'll use Roger as an example. Roger doesn't need to go on 15 vacations, but he does, right?
Yeah, and all this stuff pays for it. And I get into volume. I'll pop another picture up there. We build between 600 and 800 of these every year. And
that's awesome.
I don't have any problem doing that. We do a lot, same thing. And Steve doesn't like coasters, but we make good money with them. But, we don't do the common slate ones and cork ones. We do the ceramic tile.
Right.
Yeah, but you found something unique, right? And that makes the difference, right? But like if you say, "Oh, I'm going to make cork coasters," and you go search on Etsy, you're going to find like 300 pages of people selling coasters.
But then we ended up with a strange niche on the engraved tiles. A bar owner here wanted to put a border in his bar bathrooms with these pirate skulls. Make 100 of them all the same tile at once. That got a little tedious. But then somebody saw that, or where'd you get those? And yeah, we've done a few of those now, done some really big runs of engraved tiles so they can use them in bar restrooms.
Yeah, the references are always good, right? But the problem with that reference is the next person's going to want 100 of those too.
Yeah.
You know, I'd much rather have somebody come back to me and say, "I saw, you know, this guy's chess set. I want one of those."
But I get the idea behind creating something with a passion. Like I create those flower boxes as memorials. Do I make 1,000 of those? No, but when I make it, I feel like makes you actually feel good, you know. And year after year, I get tagged on Facebook with them putting it up, and it's 5 years old and it still looks the same. But that's different than me printing 2,000 DTF shirts for a company, you know. And but it made me a shit ton of money, so I'm doing it. So I get both sides of that, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I need to do this. I need to pay the bills. So there are going to be projects that are being satisfying, and you're like, that's good.
Yeah.
But I'm not a level in my life where I'm like, I could just kick back and just make a few cool things. Like I need to, if it's occupying my time, taking my time away from my family, it's got to make me money.
So if you want to make the real money, you got to get an OnlyFans page, man.
I know. Turns out they don't like fat Mexican guys. I don't know. I tried.
So Clack has been making stove covers for 3 years. Somebody has to fill me in here. Are stove covers like an American thing?
I don't know. I see them for sale everywhere on Facebook, and I'm like, they're so ugly. They look like some.
I've heard
I don't mean to be rude, but like a hillbilly looking. I don't.
Yeah, but you're gonna make.
Love them.
You're gonna make something out of wood and put it on your stove. Like that can't be safe.
Yeah.
You just have to say. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean they don't like it. They like it.
Oh yeah, there's always that, right?
Hey, if people are buying them,
I'm not going to judge on the product. I just wanted to know like what drives the market for stove covers. Like it's just bizarre.
I mean, I just put stuff on my stove. Like I don't need a cover to put stuff on. I just lay it on the stove.
Yeah, I don't get it, but they definitely, for whatever reason, people are selling left and right.
Yeah, I ran into there's a guy local here that has a laser, a bigger laser. I forgot what brand he has, but it's a bigger laser. And I ran into him at the UPS store one day, and he had like a whole like cart, like dolly full of these things packaged up already. And he had a sticker on his car, and I said, "Oh, what are you shipping?" And he said, "Stove covers." And there was like 20 of them he was bringing to the UPS store.
Yeah, that's insane. So we make fun of Clack because he's always a guest in the audience as far as the comments, but he's never actually joined. But I once in a while mention him, and he always pops up, so we always know he's still there.
We have to take a second to say hi to V.
Hello, V.
She thought we were ignoring her, so she said hi again.
We're not ignoring you.
We're not ignoring you.
We're not ignoring you. That's why I did this when I saw your comment and shared it.
Yes. So Clack makes 5 of these a week.
Wow.
And he still manages to pump out like 30 videos a week. I don't get it.
For the last 3 years. See, that's what I'm saying. So it's even though you think it sucks, it's boring. Sometimes if customers, I mean, yeah. You know, you just gotta like, hey, what if sometimes just pays the bills? Some of us have to do stuff. Listen to earbuds.
Wait, he's pumping these out plus his videos, and didn't I see he just started another YouTube channel as if he needed more to do?
I didn't know he started another YouTube channel. He did?
I thought so. I thought on his one of his last videos about how I got started, he said he was spinning up another channel.
Wow. Yeah, Clack definitely pushes out a lot of volume.
Yeah, I've thought. So you mentioned getting trapped in the review cycle, and I've thought about just creating a separate channel just for reviews, because I got to get projects. Like I got to get back to some projects. I have a bunch of things because people ask for stuff right all the time. Can you do a video on this? And it's like, yeah, I want to. I got a list of about 40 things I got to do in videos. Oh, that's not bad money, Clack.
Yeah.
$15,000. We just made fun of $15,000 for some stove covers. I'm gonna have to start making me some.
It's only $15,000. What's the big deal?
You know what? If you think about that, $15,000, that's someone's kid's college tuition. That's that beat up pickup truck that they're tired of driving, that they want a new car. That's the maxed out credit card that they've been making minimum payments on because they have to use it. We all were raised that you don't use that credit card right in an emergency, but the way our economy has been so hard, people have been using it more and more than they have in the past. And this just may be.
Sorry about the 4 posts. I don't know what just happened. Sorry.
No, so a hard sell.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I did not. I hit one and it just went flying.
So back to one thing. I think hopefully this will help somebody. Like it's all about aligning your goals. Everybody has different goals. It's about aligning your goals with your action, or aligning your action with your goals, right? Like, and I think so many people just don't know what X is going to lead to. And we don't all know for sure, but like, for example, like if you set a goal of making $15,000 a year and you stumble upon stove covers and that does it for you, you reached your goal, right? To where there's a lot of people that are they're looking for a product. They don't know how much money they want to make. They don't know where and there's always that exploratory period. But let's always say, like, if you want to make money, you can't treat it like a hobby, right? Like that doesn't equal. I see a lot of people treating like CNC. They get frustrated because they watch one of my videos and where I said you could make $1,500 a month, but their action is a hobbyist. Like they just do it when they want to, and they do it for fun, and that's fine. But your goal can't be to make X amount.
Yeah, that gets back to what your motivation is, right? If your motivation is to make money, then you need to do it full time.
Yeah.
No, I have a very large pool in my backyard. My wife tells me all the time, "Hey Rick, you want to come swimming?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm gonna be in the basement sanding." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I says, "Don't you think I want to be in the damn pool? Like, stop! Don't you think I want to be back here drinking beer? Of course I do. Yeah. Don't say I want to be on my Harley instead. Yeah, but I'm be in the basement sanding because exactly what you just said. You gotta put your money where your mouth is.
But if your motivation wasn't to have it become a job, then you need to change, right? If so, for me, officially it wasn't supposed to be a job. It became a job, but it was still fun, so I didn't mind so much. But there are times, like I'm going through this stretch right now where I just got to slog through a bunch of reviews, and they're important because some of them are good budget lasers and things, but I just want to build something and put it on video, right? And anything I build, it's like I turn on a machine, I start a CNC, and I go off and do something while it's working, and I pull it off and hand it to somebody, and it leaves, and I never get the satisfaction, right? So that's that's the reason. That's my motivation for YouTube, is certainly to help people, but also to sate my own creativity. Because
so I have to ask the audience. You're hearing all of our motivation. What's your motivation?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Side hustles? Why are you doing the side hustle? Are you doing it because just an outlet? Are you doing it for extra income? What's the reason you're doing it?
Yeah,
the side hustle should be enjoyable.
Yeah, but even if it's a full-time job, it should be enjoyable, right? And
Well, good litmus test is something I ran into a number of years ago. So I'm deep into another industry, making custom fountain pens, and it was always something. For 10 years. It was just a hobby, a passion project type thing, and I made decent money off of it. And then along comes a guy and says, "Hey, I'll give you X amount of money to make me 400 of." And at that point, it's like, okay, now it's become a job. I have to have the discipline to get up, spend my 8 hours in the shop, and come in and really, and that's really the kind of the test to see, is this something you want to do for a living, or do you want to maintain this as a side hustle? So, if you want to make a run at it, go out one day and make 100 of the same thing at the end of the day. And
that's the test. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you suffer from hyperactive disorder with a touch of obsessive personality, it makes your work ethic
obsessive, not well, maybe obsessive. Some people I know I do.
There's a reason we're all, from here up.
Yeah. I'm going to slouch down. So
let me straight down a little bit.
Yeah.
His other channel is the bodybuilding one.
Yeah, I mean, for some people, certainly, it's a focus too, right? It's just an opportunity to actually get something achieved and feel that sense of accomplishment. Like if you are like an OCD type person, you need that, right? And it's just, I don't. So when somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, can you engrave my company logo on 1,000 watch bands?" It's like, yeah, it's good money, but it's it's not fun.
Yeah, it's the idle hands thing. I mean, you sometimes you just can't sit and do nothing, and so you go do busy work, and whether that's lasers or CNCs or whatever, it's making videos. It's the need to be doing.
Yeah, well, doing things that matter too, right? It's not just I'm busy. It's I'm busy doing something that I can see an outcome for.
Yeah.
So I have a question as far as the CNCs, because we get this a lot with lasers. And they say, "What's the best laser to buy?" And our first response is, "Well, how much money do you have?" And that's just being honest, right? So realistically, for a CNC,
same question, same answer.
For a CNC, what I'm saying is that what is a budget, an entry level budget that you realistically have to have for a machine that's actually worth purchasing? I mean, I would say you're going to buy a $300 CNC, don't waste your money, right? But like, what is the range that you think is competitive enough to actually be able to use to make some money with?
I always say $3,000. I think, and that's so most people. The common thing I run into is they just look at the machine itself. But I think you can get up and going, machine, software, some Harbor Freight dust collection, around $3,000.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, depending on your software, 1,000 of that's going to be the software, right?
Right. And see, even then, I mean, you're going to get maybe a 20, I'm trying to think, like around a 20-inch bed, 20 by 20. Yeah. If you want to go up bigger, like a 48 by 48, I know Onefinity is probably a fully loaded Onefinity Elite is
they're
$5,000,
$6,000. Yeah. Mine I get Canadian dollars, but mine was about 6,500. So that's about a little over 5,000 US dollars.
Guy Noble said, "I'm developing my CNC and woodworking skills so that the next year I can create things full time."
Cool.
It's
See,
very,
there's a long-term goal. That's because we always tell people not to just quit your job, right?
Do not do that. It's a horrible idea.
That's what half the YouTube videos tell you to do. I quit my job and I make 100,000.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's the ultimate clickbait thumbnail. Make $100,000 a year. Sure, you can make
now
$1 million.
I live with my brother because my wife divorced me.
Exactly. Sure, you can do it. You can do anything once.
Doesn't make it a good fucking idea, but you can do it. Creative Southern Side said, "It's definitely a sense of accomplishment when you can let your creative juices flow and be proud of what you work and put out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that is for me too. That's the most satisfying thing, when you can point at something and say, I made that.
Yeah, it's just, don't forget money for the machine and tools too. We use
Yep.
an industry to get some amount of machine into tools.
Yeah, the thing you appreciate with a CNC, and I'm sure, Andy, you've already painfully realized this, the machine is one thing, but tool bits are consumable, right? So the tendency will be, and I don't know what your experience, Andy, is on CNC bits, but the tendency is, I'm going to go buy carbide bits off of Amazon, and you use them for about 5 minutes on a good piece of hardwood, and they start leaving hair everywhere because they're dull. You got to spend $70-$80 on a 1/4-inch end mill to make it last for more than
So Andy, you started
don't do that until you're going to stop breaking bits in your first 30 seconds.
So
yeah,
I have a pet peeve here, and I've been very close to putting out on a video. I just can't pull the trigger and do it because it's really not in my DNA. But the beginner, right? Like, they just bought one of these $3,000 machines, and everybody is pushing coated Amana bits that are $60-$70.
Oh yeah, that's not good for starters.
And they
that.
exactly, and they snap it, and then they're like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
and an anecdote from my past, my very first CNC, I turned it on, I had a tool bit in it, and I hit the 0 and bashed it into the workspace and snapped the bit.
Yep.
Very first thing. Yep. First time I powered it on. And
I think that probably happens more often than not.
Yeah. But
I would dare say everybody's had that happen many
let's
times.
Say once you're past the hobby stage, and you're in the side hustle making money stage, you got to spend the money on the bits. But by then, you're not going to screw up very often, right?
Yeah.
You are, but not very often.
So they're asking, a dust collection is a must-have when having a CNC.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is that's Shannon, Genesis Designs. He's I notice him. He's in my community. So,
cool. Are you live on your channel now, Andy?
I am.
Or no?
I am live on my channel.
Nice one.
Yep.
I love watching my laser and CNCs make things. I'm not particularly creative. Oh, looks like we lost Andy.
That's what AI is for.
I was live.
Are you live?
I'm live.
Your channel's probably still live, so you can go watch yourself there.
So listen, I love watching my CNC, my laser and CNC, but I'm not particularly creative. What's your input for this?
I always say that I'm not creative, but then I'll pump out something and someone will go, "Oh, that's really cool," right? And
my thing is, I'm somewhat creative, but I am not artistic.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's really my problem. I can't
thing.
draw a straight line with a ruler.
Well, I mean, I struggle to draw stick people.
Yeah. There's a reason why I've learned how to use things like Fusion 360 because I could never draw that straight with a pencil.
Yeah, but you can buy anything on Etsy nowadays, right? Like if you can buy the actual raw files, someone did all the homework for you. You can kind of sort on what's selling. That would be my advice. Like just getting deep into the art part of it, can be drastic. Like I have a background in that, so that's kind of an advantage to me. But that's a whole different learning curve, besides woodworking. So if you're not artistic, or maybe that's not even it. Like there's things I'm really good in Photoshop, things like that. But I have my go-to person, someone in California. Her name's V. That she has a full-time team, and when it's something that I'm not saying I'm not capable of doing. I just know it's going to take a lot of my time. I just pay her.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Like, and I just pass that cost along to what's going, to the customer because my time, whatever she's doing it, I can do something else to make more money. So by buying artwork, I don't think it's necessarily cheating, or even by paying someone to do it for you.
When it's a hobby, the first thing you're going to need to do is learn how to use the tool, right? And you don't need to be even a creative person. All you need to do is load an SVG file, right? That's your total creative effort, and that's a good way to start. But sooner or later, like even I'll keep bashing on coasters. You can go to Etsy and get coaster designs, and and you just load them up and cut them out. But
Yeah.
But at some point you're going to go, well, I don't like that saying. I want to put my own, Roger puts acidic sayings on some of his stuff, right? I want to do that myself.
They sell
And
well
then
too.
you'll be driven by necessity for the creative side.
Well, I mean, it takes being creative to learn creativity, and that sounds kind of counterproductive, but I've seen it, some people obviously are naturally artistic, but maybe can't bring what they vision in their head to life. Other people are great at bringing to life what other people have a vision of. And the more you exercise that and the more you experiment with making things, your brain starts to engage different parts of it, and you actually, I think your creativity improves the more you, even just doodling. I mean, the more you're doing something, I think the more your creativity, shines over time.
Yeah. And sometimes you find out that you actually are creative too, right?
Yeah.
You may never be artistic, but you might still be creative. Yeah, Clack, I like Jenny bits too. That's kind of what I've gravitated to for certainly for like a ball nose bit or end mills.
Andy, they're commenting on your bits. I didn't even know. You have your own brand bits as well?
Yeah, so I sell AndyBirdBuilds bits, but a lot of people don't know this, but my manufacturer is Whiteside. Whiteside's a common bit. I don't know if you've all seen it, but Whiteside doesn't sell direct, so you can buy Whiteside bits anywhere. But I sell Whiteside bits, which are my favorite. It's what I use and have used.
Nice. There you go.
But I recommend Jenny bits as well. I know him. I know him well, and he does good work. So
yeah.
Starters best practice cutting into styrofoam or alike.
And cardboard if you're on a laser.
Yeah.
The first things you make with your laser are things that you make out of the box it came in.
They said, "Hey Andy, it's Shannon."
Yep. Minnesota. Shannon's from Minnesota.
Oh. Andy Discord is a treasure trove of knowledge with all the community members. Nice. I never really got into Discord, being honest.
If that's the price of getting 100,000 viewers, I'm doomed.
Hey, actually, would you share it, Andy? Would you share your Discord? Because I'm pretty active on a lot of Discords, and I actually prefer it for a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. We're almost hit about 700 members.
Wow, good.
Yeah, there's just so much information. It's 3 years old now. And get an invite link here.
Okay. If you're comfortable sharing with the general public, that is.
Yeah. We have moderators in here, so we had someone today in there mimic me, which you just ban them, but.
I go back to the old IRC days, so Discord to me feels comfortable. It's just
Andy. Steve is asking: at any point, will you have just sales and marketing portion for your course?
Good question. There's no plan for it right now, but it's consideration. Yeah,
I would say that even if you are an active CNC user, the day you think you know everything in your profession is the day you should get a new job. So you could probably still learn some things. I'm highly unlikely you'd go through material and you're going to be like, I knew all of that. There's going to be something.
And you can always, you can join the course and so I went back and forth on this. You go through it in chronological order because it builds on itself. It starts at the very bottom, basic building blocks, just of CNC, and then works its way up, right? But if I've had people too email us, and if they hey, I'm past the beginner stage and I don't want to click through all this, email us and we can just open it all up, and so you have access to that other stuff right away.
Someone said, "What's the best 48 by 48 budget CNC?"
This is an interesting question.
This is like Ford versus Chevy.
Well, it's also if you use the word budget loosely, because a 48 by 48 CNC is probably not a budget CNC.
I would
Like
say
is your Avid's a 48 by 48, right?
it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Was
and
it a budget? Was it a budget
No,
CNC?
no. So, okay, here's my take on this. And I just thought of this off the top of my head because I've never answered this question before. But a budget 48 by 48 is probably the Onefinity. And I say that because my Avid is a 48 by 48 and it's like 12K. So if you're like, if you just looked at like 48 by 48 machines, the Shapeoko 5 Pro and the Onefinity are going to be the cheapest.
Yeah. Do you know if the CNC guys have a 48 by 48? I
They
think
just came out with the alt mill. You're right. So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
All right, there's a Discord link, guys. Check it out. If you're into Discord, check out Andy's Discord.
Well, that 48 by 40, the alt mills, it's cheaper. It's probably 15-20% cheaper than a Onefinity.
So we have a moderator, and someone doesn't recognize Andy, and they're asking if he's Conrad. No, Conrad didn't get a better camera, and now you can see him better.
Yeah.
Conrad's not on the live tonight.
Conrad's spending his summer testing mead somewhere, judging mead contests. Basically, spending the summer half drunk.
So David says, love the inspiration, guys. I have a Shapeoko 4 and using Carbide Create. I'm very familiar with Illustrator, but I do not know if it's worth switching to another piece of software.
If you know it, probably not.
So is there limitations that would be a reason why you would upgrade to another one that would, put your CNC on another level?
Well, the thing is, like Illustrator is a graphic design tool, right? You then need something to generate tool paths, and those tend to be things like VCarve. I don't know. Do you use VCarve, Andy? No, Avid uses something else, right?
No, I use VCarve.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
So VCarve will also let you do some authoring of the 3D-ness of the design. And so you can't just use one tool. You're always going to have to use some kind of toolpath generator like VCarve or easel or whatever.
Am I the only one in this group here that uses Carveco?
So I had a license for Carveco when I bought my Onefinity Elite, and I was already in the deep end of VCarve, so I gave the license to somebody else. And the review that he gave me on it was Carveco can, because I've shown him a lot of stuff you can do in VCarve, but his review was you can do all of that stuff in Carveco a different way, and it's not a nice way for the most part.
No, it's one of the things. I know the software, so
yeah, it's not intuitive.
So I'm feeling guilty sitting over here all this talk about CNCs because I've had this little CNC sitting in a box for 3 months. So maybe this weekend I'll maybe put it together.
Yeah, you got to get it.
You got a little 3018 there? Or?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I learned on. My first one was a generic hand bowl brand 3018 from Amazon. Super cheap. Yeah, no limits.
The only problem if you're just starting out with CNCs and your first one is a 3018, you're probably going to walk away with the thinking of I don't get it. I don't get why anyone would want to use a CNC because they're small. The motors in them are terribly slow and underpowered, and it probably taints a certain group of people when they start.
The only reason I agreed to accept it is because the same token we said with lasers when we were putting our nose up to we only want 60-watt lasers. We only want these, high-end lasers. So I said, well, I don't really want to, but I agreed to because I thought, you know what, if this is an entry-level laser that someone would consider, I want to go through the pros and cons and say,
However, the onus, once you play with it, and by all means play with it, the onus on you will be to discourage people from buying that and buying something like, if they're going to buy a Genmitsu CNC, then buy something like a Prover XL, rather than the little 3018, because they're really terrible.
So I watched one of Andy's videos today, and it was someone actually leaving a review video of his, and one thing he said was that you openly admitted your faults or like your struggles, right? So you kind of leapfrogged over him and saying, rather than me going through all that, let me learn from somebody else's mistakes and be able to take on. And that's kind of what I was thinking of that. Like you exactly said, I'm not saying this is the ideal. I'm just saying, if you are going to do this, you're committed to doing that, then expect this. And then you're going to grow it.
The thing is, you definitely like look at the 3018, review it if you want, but you have to prepare people, right? You have to say, here's the downside of starting with a $150 CNC, right? When that thing over there is $6,000 or $7,000,
and there's a reason.
Like, there's a difference, right? It's not just you pay more money.
Right.
Well, but what I think that'll give you, though, the cheap ones is not that they're good, but it'll teach somebody on the cheap the concepts of working in a build envelope access, how to manipulate an automation-based machine. So is it good at making things? No, but for $150, it lets you experiment with like just how to manipulate. And most of us here have that, whether it's in the laser world or the 3D printing world. But if you're somebody just getting into any of that, I could see that there's a little bit of a benefit to that part of it.
Financial benefit for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And it does get you through the concepts of, I have to create a tool path, and here's what a tool path does. And, all of the things I'm sure Andy ran into when he was struggling in his early days, right? We all did. Where you have to say, I drew a line in Illustrator, and somehow that line has to turn into something on a piece of wood.
How do I touch off?
So it will certainly teach you that, but you're going to want to move fairly quickly. But I think there will be people who stop at that point and go, I get it, but I don't understand why anybody would want one of these. And you probably lose, we probably lose about 30% of people just because of their first CNC was a 3018 rather than say a 4040 or something.
Happens in the laser industry.
Yeah. You said if I get a CNC, I would for sure build a garage or get a big shed.
Yeah, I got
the
big
still
shed.
Won't have enough room. Still won't have enough room.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of doing a bunch of renovation in my workshop to make more room.
I got an 8x16 workspace. That's all I get. I got a canal out this way and a pool that way, so I can't build anywhere.
Yeah, I took about a quarter of my basement. I made it my little wood shop. So that's what I'm working out of. But yeah, so good discussions. This is good discussions. And guys, and ladies and gentlemen, that's the point of these questions, live questions, is you have these questions, put them in the comments. Let us go through them. And I always say, like, we have hundreds of years experience here, literally, because you start adding up, 15 years, 7 years, all the experience that's put together collectively. That's a lot of knowledge in one room that you may not ever be able to get.
Well, I have 100 years of that knowledge myself. So.
Well, you knew Jesus. You sat behind him in third grade. So
yeah, I helped Noah build the ark. Roger's older than I am, though.
Yeah, I helped Noah write Moses write the tablet.
Yeah, he helped Noah build the plans. FreeCAD and BlenderCam. I've used FreeCAD. FreeCAD is okay. I mean, it's free, which is the best part. By the time I found FreeCAD, I was so invested in Fusion that it's kind of like I never became a touch typist either, because I'd already learned how to type with two fingers, and touch typing became hard. It's the same thing with FreeCAD. I just can't do it. But it's a good tool. It's a good tool.
Original AutoCAD back in college, and it's like, Autodesk Fusion 360. I can jump in. No, it's not the same thing.
No, different concepts. Yeah,
it's so different.
There's also Tinkercad, which is probably better than FreeCAD, just for a newbie to get started. Roger,
the worst part
when I got into this, I thought that since I already knew AutoCAD electrical really well, that I've jumped right into this. Well, that was not the case by any means.
Nope. It's like knowing Eagle for electronics. It's like it's not at all the same thing, you know.
Yeah, Eagle is a piece of Fusion that I just refuse to use. KiCad is so much better.
Quick comments. It says the first part, the worst part of owning a 3018 or 3040 is the software quickly gets more expensive fast. Fusion is a nice learning tool, but not as VCarve or other softwares.
I wish Aspire was cheaper. I really do.
Yeah, me too, man. I've been holding the buy button on that one.
I know. Aspire and VCarve, I mean, if they'd lower their cost of entry, they'd pick up a whole lot of business.
So Aspire, if you're watching this video, because a lot of these manufacturers do watch this, hey, maybe if you offer like a coupon code for our subscribers, they'd be able to get a discount. That'd be pretty nice. That'd be pretty nice. We're just saying.
Well, in that regard, if anybody from Vectric is watching this, I have no issues with VCarve. It's an awesome tool, but damn it, it was expensive.
all of a sudden, you hear his voice, like where they're like the.
It's like there'd be somebody like clack in the background listening.
Features and give me Vectric. A light. Give me VCarve light or Aspire light.
Yeah, it's so VCarve. I started with VCarve desktop, whatever the cheap one is, anyway. Yeah. And it was fine, but then I started getting into, I bought a bigger CNC, and all of a sudden 2/3 of it was useless, so I had to upgrade, and that was a big jump. And then now the next hurdle is Aspire, and I look at it and go, it's so tempting because it does some really cool things, but holy crap, it's expensive.
What's expensive? How much is it?
Like
the upgrade from Pro is, I don't know, it's about $2,000 or something.
I think it's 2,000 if like not with the upgrade. I think it's $2,000.
Yeah,
just outright if you have nothing.
Outright, yeah. The upgrade between the two, I'm not sure what.
Keep in mind, I'm working in a third world currency, right? So,
yeah.
Sorry.
So Dave said, my question is it better to use VCarve to create the tool paths than Carbine create? I import SVGs that I create in Illustrator to create currently.
Well, Carbide is a fine tool too. I mean, it's the one Shapeoko uses, right?
Yeah.
It does the same thing pretty much as VCarve does.
Yeah, if all you're doing is like center line tracing with a V-bit, I mean, I don't see one necessarily better than the other. They both can get the cam path for you. And
I went from, when I started with Shapeoko, and I used Carbide Create. That's what they call it. Carbide Create for 3 years. And it was fine. I only switched when I went to the Avid because I wasn't going to use Carbide Create with my Avid CNC. So now, with that being said, I think the reason...
there it is. That's Aspire.
Sorry. There you go. I think would you guys agree that use VCarve, you get what you pay for in the software market?
Yes. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be cheaper.
Correct. No, I agree. But generally, yeah, I think you.
So is there a middle ground?
Looks like you just got someone to sign up for your course. Says, thank you. First time I joined. I'll see you on the next one, Andy. I'll send you a note on an upcoming course. Stoked.
Sweet.
So I mean, honest question: is there a middle ground between the free, the easels and the carbides, and the $2,000 Aspire? I mean, is there something else that's worth looking at that, that?
So
call it
Vectric has a couple of Vectric has a couple of different layers of application, right? You can start from, what is it, Carve
Cut 2D
or Carve 3D or something?
Yeah, Cut 2D.
Then there's VCarve Desktop, which is a few $100s. It's not outrageous and it's quite powerful. But once you go over, once you get over 24 by 24, it's not going to work anymore because that's how they limit it. And then you buy Desktop or Pro, which is infinite sized workspace. And
I think it's was it like $700?
Yeah, it goes up pretty dramatically. Now, in fairness, the nice thing about Vectric is you can start from the cheapest product, and when you want to upgrade, you're only paying the difference in the retail price between those two. You're not paying like some crazy hopped up upgrade price. And that's a nice touch. So you can start cheap and you can grow as you go, right? So if your side hustle turns into a full-time business, then you can, hopefully you can afford a Spire. It's for me, it's I look at it and I can afford it, but I look at it and go, oh, that's so much money.
As long as they don't go the Adobe route.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into the monthly fee for my tools.
At least we're not paying, what is it, CATIA or NX prices for the software we use. I'm not sure what that is.
I'm guessing that's industrial automation stuff, but that's just a wild guess.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, I don't know.
Clackslack says VCarve Pro has served me well. I don't do much 3D stuff. VCarve Desktop is $349, Pro is $699.
Yeah, it's So here, I think VCarve was $425. So, and Pro was, I don't know, $8 maybe. So I liked Desktop, but when I got a bigger CNC, then I needed Pro. But Pro, there's a big leap from Pro to Aspire. Like, it's not even close. It's not like, oh, we've added 10 new features and it's another $200. It's $2,000, right? Or $1,200 more. But I don't know. Have you played with
and all that stuff? So
yeah, since you're using VCarve, have you played with the new inlay stuff in version 12?
I haven't personally yet.
That is so sweet.
Is it?
Yeah.
Something I wanted.
I did when I did the chessboard. I was using VCarve 11, and they didn't have any of this inlay stuff, so you had to do all kinds of crazy math to make it work. In VCarve 12, you lay down your image that you want to engrave, and it creates. Well, you can create two sheets on your design, one for the plug and one for the socket, and it just generates both of them. Basically, the only thing you have to determine is how deep you want it to be and how much glue space you want underneath the plug, and it just generates it. And it was amazing.
That's neat.
So the old saying, you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah. Now, if Aspire can do that on a whole bunch of other things, then I would consider buying it. But I need a customer that needs some of those features. Like,
Steve,
well, you need an excuse to buy it, right? It's just.
Yeah. What did you use software-wise, Steve, for your chess pieces?
Well, VCarve supports it, right? So what you get is an A-axis, and in VCarve there's another post processor that will map the Y-axis to the A-axis. So it doesn't do a true round thing. It thinks it's engraving something that's flat, but it's rotating it around, and it works pretty well.
Okay.
There was a script that did that for a while.
Yeah, you can. I think it's in Pro.
Okay.
It's certainly in Pro. I think it's in Desktop too.
I said Aspire's too rich for my blood.
Yeah, I feel that pain.
There's a script out there, or there used to be, that would take a flat and wrap cylinder and generate your G code around that too. And I don't remember exactly what it is, but sounds like the same concept.
Yeah, it's like you can actually you tell it that you're using the A-axis, so when you look at it on screen, it looks like the chess piece. But you can actually lay it out flat, and it shows you what it's going to look like if it was a flat piece of wood. And that's how the CNC is looking at it.
So those in the live, let us know where you're actually joining us from. Where are you joining us from? And I used to say United States, but I have to remember we have an international following. We have a lot of UK, Australia, Canada. But Australia and UK has really been growing when you're watching the lives.
That's because it's winter there.
Yeah, actually, I got an email this week. About the Longer B1 Pro from someone from Australia, and said, I didn't catch the live because of the time difference, but I did watch it on the replay. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
What do we got? Tennessee or Dallas?
Texas.
Oh, Belgium. Cool.
Oh, look at that.
Are you really from Belgium?
At 3 a.m.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville.
Another Nashville.
Oh,
Tennessee.
2 people from Nashville. I like the username there, Lost in the Garage. That's how
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
a
most
cool
of
one.
the time.
That's a cool one. V's in East Tennessee. Man, Tennessee's in the building today.
Tennessee. I'm just north of you all in Kentucky.
New Jersey. I used to live in Jackson, New Jersey.
I went to, when I was working, I had to go to a customer in Kentucky, in Lexington. And the day I arrived, there was some tornado that rolled through town and wiped out my hotel, so I had to find a new place to stay. But as I was landing and you're punching through the clouds, the thing that struck me most was it is the greenest place I've ever seen. Like, it's just crazy green.
Waverly, Iowa, not too far from me.
Yeah, you mentioned that place a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
Reading, California, Pennsylvania. Oh, Freehold, New Jersey. Yeah, I used to live in Jackson. Yeah, we were practically neighbors.
Got my buddy Todd there from
There you
Creative
go,
Southsider
Lexington,
in
Kentucky.
Buckeye, Arizona.
Yeah,
There you
it was just, it's a nice
Florida.
little place.
Let's get the Tennessee and Kentucky people together sometime. There you go.
There you go. This sounds like what was the plastic car GM made down in Tennessee? They used to have a big barbecue for all the Saturn. Yeah, they used to have a big barbecue down there for all the people who own them.
I'm lost in the garage. I like that. That was a cool name. And man, a lot of people from Tennessee today.
I know.
A lot of Tennessee following. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Saturn.
My wife keeps wanting to head out there, actually. Rent some side-by-sides, stay in the cabin, sit in the hot tub. I might do that.
Listen to some country music. Go to Nashville.
There you go. But you what are you thinking? Like the Smoky Mountains, like
Yeah.
Gatlinburg?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tennessee country music.
We took a road trip from Chicago to New York, from New York to Canada, and then back, and we saw all kinds of stuff along the way.
Yeah.
I think it was like, man, I want to say like 46 hours of driving and over, I can't remember how many miles. But yeah.
I got to correct somebody real quick. Sorry, Pierce's perfect pieces. Kentucky equals bourbon. Tennessee is whiskey.
Unless you get them all mixed.
That's a whole rabbit hole.
Then they all might start to slur together.
I actually live in what they call bourbon country. Like Jim Beam's distillery is like 10 miles away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So hence the smokers with the CNC?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Wasn't alcohol banned in Kentucky for a long time? But they were always making it there?
It was in Tennessee for a while, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, where Jack Daniels is made, they were dry.
Yeah.
They were dry for a long time.
Yeah. They when I moved down here from Michigan 11 years, 2013. So 11 years ago now, I lived in a dry county.
Oh.
And it's not that way anymore. But there's no bars or anything like that. It's just like restaurants can serve alcohol. But yeah, this county was dry up until probably 8 years ago.
Yeah, we in Illinois used to be like that. It was dry, and I was a kid. You couldn't buy liquor in there at all, and it's finally not that way anymore. But Wheaton's like a real big Christian town. Real big Christian town.
Wow, that's kind of mind-boggling, actually.
My country just went. My country just what? My country just went
county.
He lives in
I can't even say it. Maybe
Alabama, right?
The county just went wet a couple years ago.
Just the phrasing that he chose is
Let the dyslexic guy read the comments all the time. There you go.
I wasn't laughing at the reading it. I was laughing at the phrasing.
Yeah, that's mind-boggling to me. I live like 2 minutes from the nearest liquor store.
Yeah,
and I live in suburbia, like major wilderness for me.
Nice one.
You got to keep warm up there, though, right?
No, not where I live. So I live right on the coast, right, and it's quite warm here.
All right,
Pierce, I'm not gonna say what's in that.
Yeah, I normally have a couple beers with me. That's normally a thing with me and Roger, right? We're doing the toast, but for whatever reason, I forgot my beers. So yeah.
There you go, Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Drinking was
Yeah.
about the only thing people wanted to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've been to Saskatchewan. It's a place that's just so unbelievably flat. You can like see your dog run away for about 3 days.
So Steve said something about Carveco earlier. I would like to really hear his opinion about it.
So I officially don't have an opinion because I gave my
Roger.
license to Carveco away.
I'm the one that uses Carveco. And
Yes.
the reason I'm still using it is because that's what I learned on. And I know it. And it works for what I do. So I'll keep it.
Yeah. So Andy, if you want to go to a cold place in Canada, Saskatchewan is the place to go.
I was actually in Canada last month. So I went back up and visited family in Michigan, and we went across the border at Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
This is in Ontario.
Yeah, that's pretty far up there, but
Yeah. So there's a Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and there's a Sault Ste. Marie, Canada.
just across the river from each other, right?
Yeah, just across from the Sioux Locks, which are really interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lots of Lakers go through there for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to live in Ontario. I lived in Ottawa, the capital, but it's just as cold and miserable.
Yeah, Andy. So Roger and I are in Illinois, so we used to be close to you.
Yeah, my winters are certainly nicer than the Illinois folks.
Oh, yeah. It's,
Where I live. I live 2 miles from the ocean, right, and it's about 50 miles off coast is the Gulf Stream, so it's pretty warm where I live.
So
Nice.
question says, we're all
we won't get snow that stays here until like the middle of January, and then by the middle of February, daffodils are coming up. So
were all you machinists or engineers before you started your business? I was a lineman.
I was an engineer, software engineer. Well, hardware and software.
I was an electrician and electrical engineer.
I was a turf manager. I grew grass for a living.
Sweet.
I'm IT and
Maybe
software.
you can come and fix my lawn. Rick was complaining about my lawn last week.
You don't
I'm a
have a
software
lawn.
guy
You
and
have
project
clovers.
manager to this day.
I could have counted the blades of grass.
No, you got to understand. When I moved into this house, anything green out there was a weed. Now half the things are actually grass.
Isn't that a cool? Like, I think that's really cool though. That, like, it's technology. It always blows me away, like CNC technology. And I keep saying 10 years ago, but that 10 years keeps moving. So let's say, definitely 15 years ago, probably 10 years ago ish. Like what we do and what we're able to do, and the ease of what we can do with CNC, like, wasn't possible 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's
But
just
cool. It's also cool that all different walks of life, a common passion, right? Like we had said a couple of times in the live, I got an email from a lawyer, and when I saw the email, that right at that time, I kept seeing all these videos pop up on YouTube, influencers being sued. And I was like, oh shit, And it was a lawyer who was watching our live, and he just had questions, and he emailed me from his domain, But exactly, all different full-time gigs, with a common passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I appreciate in the 10-year front is 10 years ago, most of what we all do right now wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, if you could afford a laser, it was going to be a 5-watt, and it probably would have been several $100s, right?
Yeah.
And Clack mentioned in the comments here when he was testing the Acmer P3, he's got the 10-watt diode laser. I have the 48, so I don't suffer the third world problem that he's got. But like I'm testing a 10-watt laser right now, and I look at it and go, it's a really nice laser, but holy cow, I remember 10 watt. I used to think 10 watts was awesome, and now I look at it and go, hello, power, where are you?
Yeah.
I got one of those little Sculpt Fun iCube 10 watts over there, and it's like, yeah, it'll engrave great, but you go to cut something and you remember, like, oh yeah, no. Yeah,
your cutting speed on a 10-watt laser is probably about 3 millimeters a minute.
Yeah,
but
2
you gotta
passes.
think, you got to think though. To me, those things still have use. And what I mean by
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
if
yeah,
you're someone who's doing like that scratch paper you're using,
yeah.
and that's what you want to do.
Well,
'Cause
no, but
there's people who make-
we've talked about earrings, right? Like people
Yeah.
use a lot of 3 millimeter plywood for that's 1/8 inch for most of you folks, but 3 millimeter plywood for cutting out custom earrings, right? And 10-watt laser is perfect for that.
Oh yeah, does it?
And if you
real
want to
slick.
engrave something on it, ultra high detail.
Yep.
Right.
Well, you're seeing these companies now that will sell you a 40-watt laser, and we're going to give you, what is it, a 1.5 watt or something like that?
Reality,
yeah,
Creality
we'll give you a
has
little
the
1.5 watt with it for engraving.
yeah, and so you take I've done the Creality 40 watts, and you take this gigantic laser module off, and you put this thing on that's like a really thick pencil,
a chapstick.
and it's a
Laser-
1.6 watt
for-
laser, but it's got like 0.03 millimeter beam
It's almost
size, right?
fiber.
Like it's crazy
It's almost
small.
fiber size. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy small.
So those are saying they still would like a laser, an entry level laser. In 2 weeks, we will be giving away another laser. This is be our 3rd laser giveaway.
It'll
So-
be an Ortur H10 10-watt laser, come fully
You spoiled
assembled
it.
with a baseboard, layout grid, mounting feet. And if you are in the continental U.S., we'll ship it to you for free. If you win and you are elsewhere, you'll be responsible for the shipping.
Yeah, so when I
Insane.
took that laser apart, I took it apart and like mass taped the screws where they belonged, and like took it just enough to get in the box, so that they should just be able to go, oh, screw it, you know what I mean?
I'm
This is
getting
going to be
better
fully
at
assembled.
I'm getting better at putting the thing back in the box when I'm done with it, right? Because I don't have room to keep them all set up,
Yeah,
and
we all have a hoarder's corner.
but for the longest time, I'd give lasers to like clubs and stuff, and it's like, do you have the box? Do you have the manual? No, I don't know where any of that stuff is. But I'm getting much better now because I know I'm not going to keep a lot of them for any length of time.
Is that an Oteza V35 with an extension kit?
What, mine? No, it's 3 different lasers up there. Is a Atom Stack, Acmer, and an Algo. It's just I need to start thinning the herd. I got too many sitting on the wall doing nothing, 2 of which I'll probably never use again. So it's like it's time to start thinning the herd a little bit.
I need to do the same thing here.
I have my xtool D1 Pro 40 watt with extension rails hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
And it's become just a conversation piece in the shop now. It's like I'll probably never plug it in again.
Well, it's like I've got the P2, but I've got to keep that out in the garage because it's too damn big and heavy to put in my small shop. So it's like if I want to use my CO2, I'll run to the other end of the house, go out in the garage where it's 105 degrees, and run jobs out there. So
Yeah.
Do you have a chiller for it?
No, it's just it's the closed loop like we were talking about last time. It's unless I'm going to start cutting up tubing and injecting an external chiller in it, it does okay. 40 degrees Celsius, but it manages. It's never shut down on me for an overheat, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Look
I
at her.
just wonder if you're shortening the life of the tube substantially.
Probably, but I'll add it to my tubes. I got an Omtech tube sitting up there and a K40 tube sitting up there.
The price you pay for living in Florida, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't live in paradise and complain that it's too warm.
Yeah. I'm starting a collection of dead tubes.
Yeah, when I built my 90 watt laser, I bought 2 tubes for it right away.
Yeah, Herb said I have a CNC machine. I'm sorry, I have a CNC machine shop in my garage. Retired at 30 years of medical device development. So
cool.
Again, like I said, all different walks of life.
That's cool. I knew somebody that did medical device stuff like that, and the stuff that they are working on is it's like amazing.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I went from knowing nothing to being the night shift manager. Marticam training from the company, and they learned CAD from home. I really love this stuff. Marticam.
Awesome. That's even better when your employer pays for your education for your side hustle.
There you go. Laser question: what kind of power requirements should someone anticipate for future builds? Power for the laser, power for additional exhaust.
lasers don't, well, unless you get something really big. Now, if you're talking like a diode laser, just a standard 15 amp outlet will do
Yep.
you just
Yeah.
fine.
Yep.
Exhaust,
even-
depends
yeah.
what you want to do.
Even a 40-watt laser is only going to draw like, I don't know. They're probably
Maybe
What?
5 amps. Maybe.
yeah. It's less than it's probably a couple of hundred watts, right? It's not big
Nice, V.
of power of wall power. Yeah, thanks, V.
They actually, I'm looking at this. They don't say.
But we will say that if you're purchasing a laser, most times 20 watt is kind of the sweet spot,
Yeah,
right?
20 to 30 is where you want to be.
Right. I'm saying just, and then 6-inch exhaust is probably nice because you can use PVC or something from water main, pretty cheap from Home Depot. And now that weed is legal everywhere, you can find hydroponics fans and all kinds of cool stuff.
Is it
couldn't
legal where
find
you
before.
live? It's legal where I live. That store is only 5 minutes away too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
not here.
Since weed became legal, like all over the place, that type of exhaust and tubing and all that kind of thing to exhaust is like so easy to find now.
Yeah.
You guys
Well,
are going to ship me some. It's illegal contraband here.
Most lasers like that we create, it comes with a length of spiral tubing anyway, right? And you just have to put a hole in the wall and hang it
Yeah,
out.
they're expanded out. They're only about that long.
No, no, they're not that bad.
4 feet, maybe.
Yeah, it's
4
probably
feet.
about 4 feet, but
Yeah.
that's you don't really want a really long run anyway because you'll just start to lose draw at that point.
Well,
The little fan in the box can only push so far, right?
The reason I like the PVC is I get that attachment with the drill for the dryer vent.
Yeah. Oh, to clean it?
Clean it out.
Yeah.
Because you look in that after a while, it's pretty, man.
The one downside with PVC, I like PVC too, just for the record, but the one downside with PVC is if you ever have a fire up the tube, up the exhaust tube, PVC is really, really not good for you when it's burning.
Yeah. For sure.
What's a little
That may be the least of your problems if you have a fire in there, but
yeah. Well,
You're going to pass out, and then you're going to get burned
yeah,
out.
you do want to survive long enough to get out of the building if it's on fire. Well, I mean, the C is chlorine in PVC, right?
Yeah.
Well, and
Hey,
it's
to
interesting. I've
clarify,
noticed a couple manufacturers are actually saying, "Oh yeah, you can cut PVC," and I'm like, "No."
Well,
No.
you can.
Well, you
You
can't once, but yes,
Yeah.
it's not good for you or the machine.
Yeah, the chlorine in that'll corrode every metal part on a laser.
Yeah,
The
it's
same thing
amazing
goes for
actually.
vinyl.
I've seen pictures of people who were cutting PVC and not for long, and then you see all the even the stainless steel is all pitted inside the laser. It's just,
Or even some of the leatherettes, or
yeah,
there was a big thing for a while about everybody wanted to do vinyl records, and it's like, no, same problem. It's not good.
yeah. The V in PVC is vinyl, right? That's what it
but
is.
it said PVC only burns with the flame. ABS stays lit once starts.
Yeah, that's probably true. But
There you go.
ABS generally won't kill you like PVC does. None of it's good for you, but PVC is deadly.
I was a plumber for 7 years, and I've cut and heated a lot of PVC.
Well, but that's
Cutting
melting
it
it,
and
that's
heating
not
it is-
vaporizing
that's
it.
different.
Yeah,
Well,
cutting it,
I would
you're probably
say-
cutting it with a saw. Heating it, if you're just melting it, if you're softening it to get it fit into something, that's not the same.
Right.
Because it doesn't, the chlorine doesn't break out of it until it's actually like hot. On
I would
fire.
say if it becomes an issue, it's the least of my issues, right?
Yeah, if the pipe is on fire, forget it. Just get out of the
Got bigger
building.
problems.
See you later. Got a new laser on the way.
Well, I mean, that's actually a good one for a lot of the new laser people. Is like, hey, go buy yourself a small fire extinguisher to keep in the
Yep.
shop,
You should always have a fire
or
extinguisher.
the fire blankets. You can go get these fire blankets on Amazon. You take the fire blanket, toss it over, and reuse it if you need to. But so many times you see people, my laser went up in flames, and you see it just completely.
So I hear people say that, but I've never had a fire on a laser.
So my thing is, I almost think they're lying and they don't want to admit it. is they turned that laser on and they left. They went out
1
of the room,
millimeter
they're
per second,
cooking,
100%
there's no way
power,
in hell.
and walked away.
So
There's no way in hell they're on Facebook like, I don't know how that happened. The manufacturer should give me my money
right.
back. You guys leave your fear, and it's completely melted. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
There's
No,
no
but
way.
it's cheap insurance to have a fire extinguisher in the shop. I mean,
It
for
is.
other reasons.
I've had one fire. It only takes one. No.
Yeah.
And it was where we were, I was using this, you ever use the, like the paper masking? It's almost like masking tape. But you can buy it on Amazon. And I don't have it
Like
right
the transfer tape, the stuff that's like 12 inches wide.
Yeah, but it wasn't like transfer tape. This was like
Laser
masking
mask.
material.
Yeah. It's still called transfer tape.
Okay, so I had that catch on fire. And this was actually my wife. I caught it on fire, and we had it in our house, in the office, and she walked out to the kitchen and walked back, and I know she wasn't gone long, and she came back, and the bed and like it didn't catch the whole machine on fire, but we had to put out a fire inside, and what happened is that masking caught on fire.
Yeah, well, it's paper, right?
Yep. So yeah, that's the only thing that we've ever had happen. We didn't have to use a fire extinguisher, but we had to replace some parts to get it working again. It melted the belts off of it.
Wow, that's hot enough.
Yeah, I was doing some 3/4 inch plywood, and it must have hit some filler because it looked like a sparkler all of a sudden.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
well, straight through it. Like a whole about that big.
Plywood has a lot of air holes in it, right? Like between the layers, because all the layers in between are like the crappiest wood ever. And if there's a knot, they push the knot out and they just leave a hole there because it's not on the finished surface. And once it hits that hole, it can create a little oven in there. But sometimes they put some weird, it's like plastic wood or something to fill in filler.
It looked like a gold sparkler, and I was like, "What the hell just happened?"
Yeah, some of that stuff.
I like pulled it out, and I was like, I ran over to I have one of those shop sinks in the basement, and I just
toss
it in the water. But I saved it too because we actually had a live where we had said that there was a woman who had saw some of my artwork, and she assumed that on top of the wood was paint. And it wasn't paint, it was stain. And then she was trying to rip off my artwork and create it. She financed a piece of equipment and kind of promised her husband she should be able to, make the payments. And she kind of fell on her face and wasn't doing well. And so it was just, so the point of that was that we had brought up our fails, right? Because on YouTube, you have all these successful things like, hey, I'm making thousands of dollars. All my projects turn out great. We had just a live where we all just brought up fails, like and at first he was like, oh yeah, I had this video, I said it was great. All on the floor was like 100 of them that didn't work out.
Well, that's the bin, right? I have beside my CNC, I have a box where I put all of the failed pieces of hardwood. It becomes firewood at some point, and it's just like you look at it and go, I remember that. And I'm going to throw it back in the box. Yeah, you maybe we should have a contest for the worst fail. I don't know, but I mean, I have one here. This is the very first wooden spoon I made. Now the side is busted off, but this hole in the middle wasn't here. What happened was this was the tool bit dropping down, right? Yoink, right through my spoon. I was not happy, but
good idea, B. FR blankets are not expensive. You can buy them on Amazon.
Yeah, they're definitely worth it.
Just with FR blankets, make sure you're not using fabric softener or any kind of crazy thing. Or you can actually remove the chemical that makes it fire resistant. I tried cutting some mahogany. It caught fire, burnt my hand. Getting it to the sink. Have 2 fire extinguishers now. Like you said, it only takes once, right?
Yeah.
Or hopefully it only takes once.
Yeah, I mean these things are so cheap, right? Like you just. Like if you have a fire extinguisher beside any tool that can possibly cause a fire, you should.
Yeah, we have 2 down in the shop. One of them's a really big one in case anything really big should happen. One of them you have to get inspected every year, And then I've got 2 up here in the loft, and one of them is right on the side of my CO2 laser.
Yeah.
You know, I like this so much. I actually might write it on the box that I put all that.
A box of learning.
Box
Yeah,
of
that's
learning.
awesome.
I might write that on my box. Box of learning.
I don't know. I've got a big plastic bin from doing some experiments with laser engraving on tempered glass today, which I did finally get to succeed, but I blew up a few pieces of glass and it made a lot of redneck diamonds. I mean, a lot of them.
Crazy.
Here is, I've still got laying on the table here. This is what I made today.
Nice.
Nice. Very cool.
Because somebody asked, you know, I had a viewer ask, you know, well, hey, can you etch, or I want to know if you could engrave on tempered glass. I said, well, you won't be able to engrave. You might be able to etch it. And I'd never tried it before. So I'll try that today. So I started out with the settings I would use on regular glass, and the first piece just blew up. So I had little tiny squares everywhere, cleaned that all up and cut our way back down. And oh, this would come out pretty good. And started to cool off, and pow, it blew up. So,
That's one more reason to keep the lid on your laser closed while you're,
oh yeah.
while you're engraving.
You know what? We had just. I take these videos and I create shorts, and I use the AI tool to pick 5 key points, and it redirects them back to this live to kind of get people to notice our lives and topics. And one of the topics that came up was someone asking Roger how to engrave a live bullet. Right?
Yeah. That was a great one.
You know,
Very low power.
My first thing was, why do you want to do that? And the second one, well, at first I said, you mean like just the shell? Oh no, live round. I'm like, why would you want to do that? And no, don't do that.
well, like I said, you can do anything once.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen that song, "Blinded by the Light."
Just make sure it's pointed. The bullet is pointed away from you.
Yeah, but the casing too, right? Because they're both going to go in the opposite direction at the same speed.
It's just bad and bad. Not a good idea. Not a good idea.
This wasn't like a little 22 caliber one either. This was something of some pretty good caliber to it.
Yeah. Wow.
Craziness. Well, it looks like we got 4 minutes left in the live. So if anybody has any questions, please do go ahead and put them in the comments. If you have not already, please do us a favor and go ahead and smash that like button. Appreciate everyone joining the live. Actually, we call it Happy Hump Day, right? Because a lot of people that are joining our lives is just to, maybe not even for a question, just to shoot the shit and just back to the grind tomorrow.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah. But it's the first 5 days after the weekend, they're always a struggle. But, we'll get through them. Yeah. Thanks, V. Even if the bullet goes off without the barrel, it's mostly just pops and the casing explodes. Bad and bad.
None of that sounds good to me.
No, I still don't want to be around that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, I'd like to know if there's firsthand experience there.
Yes. How do you know?
Hey, there's a YouTube video idea. I laser engraved a live bullet.
And live.
No.
I thought there was already a YouTube channel, wasn't it? Mythbusters.
So somebody being the Darwin Awards.
Yeah, right.
You'll be the guy with the big hydraulic press. Well, let's do the laser version of that.
Yeah.
The video opens with them like shrapnel wounds.
Let me get my flak jacket on.
Mythbusters.
There you go.
Here you go.
There you
Mythbusters
go.
tested it with a 22 to a 50 cal.
Oh, let's go to the extremes. 22 and a 50. One probably sounds like a little ladyfinger firecracker, and the other's a M80 or
The thing is, if it's a 50, well, even a 22, it's probably going to have a brass casing, which means you're going to have to use a fiber laser. That's going to produce a lot of heat. You can't go gentle with a fiber laser, right? That's just not a thing.
I know the sound of a 50 when it goes off, and I can't imagine. I'm sure it's less when it's not coming out of a barrel, but I just can't imagine that in the shop.
Yeah, no thanks.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't do this in a shop. Anybody's shop. This would be like my laser and the shell are across a field somewhere, wrapped in
connection.
Sandbags.
Clock's looking for something crazy to do, isn't he?
The brass casing is the most dangerous part. Yeah.
Yeah, because it'll throw shrapnel
Hey,
everywhere.
a legal disclaimer: we do not tell anyone to do this
Yes.
at all.
No, don't do
Do
it.
not try
No.
this at home.
Matter of fact, I'm telling you not to.
This is all
Don't even try it at somebody else's house.
Go watch MythBusters. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I think this would be a good video, but I'd outsource this one to somebody else.
He has the AI generated version.
Probably worth
There you
paying
go.
somebody else some money to just get the
I can tell
video
by your
footage.
head moving. That's not really you, Steve.
Oh man.
Too funny. Well, looks like we just hit time, guys. I really appreciate the live. I had some good laughs. I'm looking forward to more with both of you. If you'd like to continue, but this was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you need, happy to join.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for coming out, Carl.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this, Rick. I appreciate you reaching out and inviting me. So
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone joining the live. Make sure to join us next week. And if you haven't already subscribed to all our channels, please do. And remember, 2 weeks we are going to be giving away another laser. So God bless. Thanks for watching, guys.
I should find one to give away to the Canadians too.
There you go.
I probably have one easily accessible. I probably don't have to go more than 50 feet to get it.
Hey,
have
if
a
you
pile of
want, we'll
I'll see if I
connect.
can
I
find
got
one.
100 for you can give away.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find one to dole out.
So Andy, do you want to give a selfish plug really quick before you leave? If they wanted to get your course again, how they would get that? Because people were asking.
yeah, I will drop a link here. /special. Yeah, so if you're interested, you can always send me a message through my website, AndyBirdBuilds.com, or you can go directly to that link right there, the CNCSideHustle.com/special. Yeah, the special launch that we're doing right now, relaunch, ends on Friday. And you can sign up for my email list and you'll get those emails too in the future. So yeah, if you're interested in, we've been seeing great results, and it's a great process to follow, especially if you want to organize your thoughts and have an organized approach to turning your CNC hobby into some cash. So check it out.
There you go, guys. All right. See you guys next week. Thank you for joining.
Okay. See you all
Good night,
next
all.
week.
Yep.
See ya.
Bye.
See you next week.